Magazine Dreams is a new drama that just got released this past weekend. If we're being technical, this thing got released at Sundance a couple of years ago in 2023. But then, you know, the writer's strike happened, and then also Jonathan Majors happened. A lot of stuff happened. As a result, the movie got pushed and pushed and pushed and delayed until it finally got to 2025. It found a distributor, and now here we are. This film is directed by Elijah Bynum, and like I said, it does star Jonathan Majors. The premise and the setup for this movie is pretty simple. Jonathan Majors plays a very troubled young man. Who has had a pretty tough life, but he manages to look after his grandfather. He has to find ways to take care of his grandfather while he's also pursuing his dream of being a bodybuilder. And this is a lifelong dream, so he becomes kind of obsessed with it. As he becomes more and more obsessed with it, as you could imagine, some shit happens, and so we have a movie. I saw this movie like 2 weeks ago at an early AMC screening, and honestly, I wasn't gonna review it. I just didn't find myself motivated to talk about it, and in fairness, if you look at the subject matter in the movie, it's not an easy film to talk about necessarily. There's gonna be a shit ton of reviewers that are gonna compare this movie to Joker because it's like a heavily emotional, psychological character study that shows a character kind of transforming into something. And I was gonna review Alto Nights instead, but then the theater I was at kind of malfunctioned. Like the film didn't show when I tried to watch it. I needed something else to talk about, so I was just like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's talk about Magazine Dreams. Why not until I get to see Alto Nights? I'm not here to like talk about Jonathan Majors. I am well aware that he has his own shit going on outside of movies. I'm here to talk about the movie and judge it on its own merit. I'm not here to change anybody's opinion on Jonathan Majors, nor do I have an actual opinion that I'm giving on Jonathan Majors.
Fuck that bitch!
Okay, I'm just kidding. I had to squeeze that one in there because I don't like Jonathan Majors, but that's besides the point. Let's talk about his movie. So right off the bat, what I will say is that Jonathan Majors, and I don't think anybody's surprised at this, he gave a great performance. I'm not kidding when I say this. This is probably the best Jonathan Majors performance I've seen since The Last Black Man in San Francisco. If you guys haven't seen that movie, you should check it out. It's fucking awesome. But this is a great performance for a number of different reasons. Number one, it's very riveting and emotional. There is a heavy undercurrent of emotion simmering beneath the surface that sometimes explodes at different points in this movie from Jonathan Majors' character. It's a very committed role, and what I do love about it is the physicality that he brought to it. Granted, I know what you're gonna say. It's a movie about bodybuilding, so obviously physicality has to be a part of the deal here. To that, I would say, well, okay, you have a fair point. That was kind of lazy. When I say committed to physicality, I'm not just talking about the bodybuilder stuff. I'm also talking about the stuff that he has to do because of the scenarios that pop up in this movie. There's a lot more he has to do here than just flex and look at a camera. Like, there's physical situations that pop up. He has to do stuff that probably would get him hurt. The commitment, the full complexity and range of what he's feeling in this movie, like, I thought that was really awesome. I'm also a big fan of the direction. It's a well-directed movie. I'm not really familiar with Mr. Bynum's work previously. Maybe someone else in the comment section is. He infuses this movie with a lot of gritty handheld camera work, also infuses it with a lot of close-ups to make it feel more grounded and personal. This movie's also juggling pretty heavy thematic material. There's a lot here at stake, and there's a lot that this movie's trying to say. There are themes in this movie that deal with toxic masculinity and how destructive that can be. There are also themes in this movie that deal with the power of obsession, like that idea of wanting something so bad that you're willing to destroy yourself and push everybody away to get it. This movie also deals kind of with the dangers of idolization, like the idea of idolizing someone and because of that becoming inspired, and sometimes how you don't want to meet your heroes. This is one of those anxiety-based movies where you're just kind of watching the main character do more and more destructive things, and at some point in the movie you're just kind of like, hey man, I just don't do that. Please don't do, why are you doing that? If you watch Uncut Gems, it's kind of the same feeling, except that one is more of like a circumstantial type of anxiety. So if you want an emotional, psychological character study, and if you want a movie that's going to give you that kind of anxiety scene by scene, this movie's going to give you that. It's also going to show you kind of the inside dark underworld of bodybuilding that maybe you don't know about. Unfortunately, this movie does not stick all the landings that it needs to stick in order to really drive the point home. But what I mean by that is that this movie actually has a lack of context, and the lack of context really dilutes the narrative here. The lack of context in this movie takes away from the impact of certain situations. There's a lot that we're not exactly told about or shown about. It feels like the film lacks a follow-through, and as a result, there are certain scenes that they set up in this movie that I wasn't as invested in. It's either lack of direction or lack of context when it comes to certain plot elements of this movie, I'm gonna let you decide. I can't deny that this is a movie that at a certain point started to feel like it would abandon certain directions to go chase after a different one. Sometimes you'd be following a thread of subplots in this movie and then you'd just be like, oh, okay, well, I guess we're not following. What? Okay, I thought they were gonna follow through on that. I guess we're interested in this thing over here instead. I'll also say that sometime between the second and third act, the movie does start to become a little bit unfocused, a little bit more of a meandering type of thing when it comes to the story progression. As a result, I'm left with the feeling that this movie is solid, but not really my cup of tea. It's good, but I can't really highly recommend it, because I know that most people are not actually going to watch this movie, but if you do find the time, I don't think it would be a complete waste of your day or a waste of your 2 hours. Magazine Dreams was solid enough, didn't quite stick the landing for me in some spots. I'm gonna leave this one in the Daily Planet. It's just above average to the point that I can recommend it, but probably don't watch it at full price. In fact, if you can watch it for free, that would probably be the best thing. All right, guys, those are my thoughts on Magazine Dreams. Tell me, what is your dream? Do you have something out there that you are obsessed with? Tell me what your biggest obsession has been in your life. Go ahead and put that in the comment section down below. Please like and subscribe to the Superfan Show, and if you like what you see, tell me how you feel and stay tuned to hear more from the Man of Steel. Peace.